Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's Ag Forecast, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions, your premier platform for real-time global insights. Well, I want to make you aware of something that we're doing now at Nutrien. If you go to mynutrienagsolutions.com, so that's my.nutrienagsolutions.com, you can get logged in here and sign up for an account and go straight to our weather story. We're now releasing weather content 5 days a week on this site, and our current initial platform looks just like this. So you can come over here and watch our latest regional analyses that come out on Tuesday and Thursday. I'm providing a long-term global analysis that comes out on Wednesday, and then of course we have our Monday and Thursday videos. So it's all right there, and this particular website will be changing. We're going to start to add a whole lot of great weather graphics to it that I think will make for a much better experience for us looking at ag weather, and that is what it's going to focus on. So get on there, sign up for that account, and you can get access to this stuff, more frequent updates. Okay, this video might be a little bit on the long side because we have got a lot of stuff to talk about. The pattern's extremely active. First, flood threat down here. Second, where is the position of the heaviest snow going to be with this next system that's emerging on Saturday? Third, how far north is severe weather going to extend? What's the timing of that severe weather this weekend? And we're going to talk at the end about what's going on with El Nino. We know that NOAA has just recently declared a weak El Nino. What does it mean for the U.S. and especially South America? And we will also talk about this. We've actually seen over the last several days the regrouping and the strengthening of the polar vortex. What does that mean for North American weather? Because usually when it's disrupted like it has been over the last 30 days or so, it takes a long time for it to regain strength. Well, we've seen a pretty rapid strengthening. Let's talk about it here in a few moments. First, I got to kind of complete a story for us. Remember talking about that really strong jet streak that went right in through here? We saw 200-mile-an-hour winds. Well, we did get a plane to fly through it. Recorded a ground speed of 801 miles an hour. Now remember, that's the ground speed. The plane was technically not breaking the sound barrier because it was flying in a 200-mile-an-hour tailwind. But on the ground speed, 801 miles an hour. So that is amazing. But with this animation, what I want you to see is where it evolves. So this is valid on Thursday morning. This is how things look by the time we get into Saturday midday. And the main focus is this shortwave right here. Now we still have our split flow, see it? But it's this shortwave right here. Strong jet streak here, decent downstream ridge, and it's going to be right in this area that we have strong upper level divergence, and that will produce a vigorous and powerful low pressure system. Now what does it mean? Well, if the low is exactly where the European model's forecasting, which is right here, we're going to focus our severe weather here to the south and our heaviest snows from Kansas through central Iowa, getting up into northern Wisconsin, southeastern Minnesota, with some lighter snows on the backside of this. Right now, the European model, the NAM, which is the North American Mesoscale model, and the Canadians all agree about this. The outlier is the GFS, who wants to take that low and park it several hundred miles to the west. And that would change everything, bringing the heaviest snow bands much farther to the west. I'm going to tell you, I don't right now agree with this. Model trend plus multi-model support plus ensembles say go with the European on this one. And by the way, the European has not let us down for quite some time. So let's get into this. There's one thing that all four of these models agree on, and that is where the heaviest rains are going to be. Going into it, just look at our current soil moisture anomaly map. East of the Rocky Mountains, very, very wet. We are completely saturated in so many locations, and I'm concerned, and we're going to watch this in every video, I'm concerned about our early spring flood threat and what this might mean to getting into the fields. Over the last 3 days, we have already saturated this ground with a fresh batch of rain. Some locations in Mississippi and Alabama getting over 3 inches. And that was because there was a lot of thunderstorm activity. Not a lot of severe weather reports, but over 200,000 lightning strikes in the last 24 hours. This same area is about to get hammered, and we've got to talk about that. Now, in the short term, let's watch our high-resolution NAM model. The next wave ejects out of the four corner states and just gets going by the time this model run ends. You will see nearly constant thunderstorm activity in through here. We're going to watch the initial wave maybe be bringing in some ice threat to parts of Iowa and some lighter snow into the high plains in the north central plains. So you ready? As I move forward, I'll leave the drawings on there. This is what we see. Ready? There it is. So some light snow out ahead of it, the potential for some freezing rain there and some freezing drizzle in Iowa, southern Wisconsin, parts of Illinois, nearly constant thunderstorm activity down here, none of which I don't think in the near term will be severe. Saturday's our main event, but here it is. That's our panhandle hooker showing up, and it is right now going to come out of the panhandles and go straight toward the Illinois, Iowa, Missouri intersection there. So let's look at total accumulated rainfall before the main event gets going. This is where our flood threat continues right in through here. We've been looking at the river gauges. We know the current soil moisture problems. We're going to be putting down an additional inch to, in some locations, over 3 or 4 inches of rain. I'm very concerned about the Tennessee Valley here getting into northern Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, but definitely through Tennessee. Looks like even getting up toward like Paducah into central Kentucky, this area could get another round of very heavy rain as well. So this is getting us through Saturday early morning before the severe weather targets the same area. Now, before we come back to that, let's at least talk snow. Remember, the European model wants to take the low from the panhandles straight to the intersection of Illinois, Iowa, Missouri. If it does that, the heaviest, most focused snow bands will set up right in through here. We may have to watch out for potentially some large snowfall amounts. We will get snow behind this, but it's where we're looking for the heaviest band in through here. The GFS wants to park the low much farther west, which is why it has a more east-west oriented heavy snow band in through that area. I'll tell you something though, I can't hang my hat on the GFS right now. It's not been the best performer. It's been persistent with putting that low back to the west, but it's not consistent with the ensembles and it's not consistent with 3 other models. So we're going to go with the European model on this one, looking for the heaviest snows in central Iowa through southeastern Minnesota into northern Wisconsin, with still some bigger snowfall amounts from Kansas, Nebraska, South Dakota, and the rest of Minnesota, but not nearly the heavy amounts that we see in the GFS model. So that's where our snow is going with this next system. What are we watching? Again, that low tracks through here. Severe weather threat is confined to this area. That's a Saturday event. Light snow spreads out ahead of it in this area, but the main event shows up here, comes out of the Four Corners area, and then that's when our heaviest snows show up in this area. Now, I'm going to tell you, after this system goes by, wait until you see these winds. It is going to be absolutely rocking, and then you'll see a pattern shift. Our systems now start to slide down out of this area toward the end of this animation. So, what is it doing? Let's watch it now. Here we go. System emerges. Look at all the heavy rain there on Friday across the lower Mississippi River Valley, extending all the way over to Tennessee and the Carolinas. This is Friday, valid at noon. See the light snow spreading though in the north central plains? So that spreads on toward, again, Minnesota. Look at the freezing rain potential there. This is not much, but freezing rain there in Iowa. Now the main wave ejects early Saturday morning, and look at that. The low is right there over the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas. You will see it move through Kansas, through Missouri, straight toward the intersection of Illinois, Iowa, Missouri. Now this is where we have the position of the low on Saturday. And there's a few things we have to pay attention to. There will be an upper level front that sweeps through here. This will give us our initial round of severe weather. You can see the heavy snow is back into this area, but our surface cold front will be tucked back in through here. So it's going to be the upper level though that initiates this. The warm front, we will actually see storms building off of the warm front as well, and all of this connects up to our low that's right in this area. So this is the main focal point for our severe weather and our snow on Saturday. Watch the low wrap up as we get into the overnight hours on Saturday, spreading heavy snow from Iowa through southern Minnesota into Wisconsin. Again, heavy rains, strong to severe storms moving through the Tennessee Valley. Now watch this. That system, as it gets through Sunday morning through Sunday afternoon, look at the spacing of those isobars. Absolutely, really ridiculously windy conditions coming on the backside of this. This is a vigorous, deep low pressure system. But after it passes through, we see a shift. We're no longer getting these cyclones coming out of the lower Rockies. We're now starting to see the establishment of an upper level trough sitting above Hudson Bay. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes here. All right, the severe weather potential, the initial low pressure system in the upper level wave is going to emerge here Saturday morning. So storms will initiate pretty far to the west. Once that upper level front gets here, right aligned with the lower Mississippi River Valley, that'll happen around midday to early afternoon. We will see at that time the cold front snaking back through here and a warm front extending through the Ohio River Valley and moving north. Now, what I'm concerned about is what we call triple point chasing here. All right, it'll be in through this area, by the time we get into the afternoon and evening hours, where we're going to have this set up. Our surface winds will be coming out of the south and then curling back southeast. The winds above the surface, I'll draw those in red, will be screaming as a low-level jet into this area. And then even above that, if we kind of get up pretty high in the atmosphere, we're going to be seeing our upper-level trough swing through like this. So all of this means wind shear. And the wind shear vector will be perpendicular to the front. Now, what does that mean? That means that we have a good chance for seeing discrete supercells out ahead of this, and then followed by a pretty brisk, large frontal squall line. So if you are in this area, this is the region that we are most concerned about right now. And to see that the Storm Prediction Center has put an enhanced risk out for day 3, that is substantial. We could probably see this get increased quite a bit. It will be a strongly forced system, which means it's going to move quickly. But overall, this is our first major severe weather outbreak I think we're going to see for 2019. Please watch our update that comes out on Friday midday, which will have a kind of a new outlook on what this is going to be. So please watch that one on mynutrienagsolutions.com. All right, watch what the pattern does here. That deep trough that's been over the west, watch it slowly migrate. There it is, slowly migrate toward the Hudson Bay. Now it does eventually connect, as you see here, as this trough tries to get established here over the next, let's call this 8 to 15 days. We still see kind of some memory of that sneaking back through the kind of the four corner states, getting over to the southwest United States. But overall, this is a pretty substantial pattern shift we can't ignore. It shifts our focus from the southern plains for low pressure systems to merge and lift to now seeing these little short waves kind of sneak around the back side of this upper level trough. So that's a bit of a pattern shift. If any place stays warm, it's probably going to be the far southeastern part of the US, but this will be a bit of a shift we have to see here. Now, what do temperatures do because of it? Well, let's animate out the next 15 days every 6 hours. Now, what do we see overall? We still see that cold air that is firmly in place over the north central plains in the western United States. We've got to still dislodge this. But it looks as though by the time we get into the second full week of March, we could start to see a bit of a moderation in this pattern. Still, the Alaska Ridge dominates, and I'm going to talk more about that here in a few seconds. But with that pattern shift, we will be seeing basically in the Pacific Ocean, we're going to see our kind of higher of a low pattern get much closer to the U.S. before it kind of broadens into a trough centered right through there. What does it mean for California? This could signal another decent atmospheric river event, bringing quite a bit of moisture in here. Now, we're going to give you a much better update about this in our Western region update coming out midday Friday. So take a look at that on mynutrienagsolutions.com. But that could signal a wetter pattern in that area. Okay, come back to that polar vortex. Like I said, it's getting itself back organized again. Now, it sometimes takes several days to several weeks to couple with or to kind of join with what's going on in the troposphere. But that feature, combined with the kind of flattening of the jet stream, means we're going to go from this negative P&A pattern, where we've been for quite some time, back toward neutral. Now, what does that mean? That means we're going to lose this really high amplitude pattern and instead bring in something a bit more like this, where they kind of come together and they sweep across the U.S. in a more zonal fashion. That's what the neutral phase of the P&A really means here. And this is our most dominant pattern feature right now. So that's a pattern shift we got to pay attention to, because it might signal as we get into mid-March, maybe a warm-up over average, which I'll be watching very carefully over the coming days. A lot going on here, though. Now, we've been talking about what's going on in the Central Pacific, but really I've left El Nino out of my discussion for a while because it's not been the dominant factor. The MJO has been the dominant factor. The Pacific jet stream has been the dominant factor. But because we have a couple of cyclones spinning just like this, we have seen a westerly wind burst in through this area. We've also seen the pressure change from Tahiti to Darwin, giving us a negative Southern Oscillation Index. And with the warmer temperatures that we've had for much of this winter across the Central Pacific, NOAA says, hey, we've actually got an El Nino going right now. But this sucker's weak. This isn't like the one we had in 2016. This is really a pretty weak system here. So what does it mean for the United States? I don't think anything. What I think it means is, if we look at its kind of relationship with the MJO, which is in phase 8, going to phase 1 and 2, I think this is a much bigger deal for South America. Because right now in phase 8, 1 and 2, this is a wet pattern. So our next 10 days or so for South America, especially Brazil, still pick up on this wetter pattern. But if we get over, as it normally does, into phases 3, 4, and 5, as this thing goes counterclockwise, that could mean that maybe by mid-March we could be drying out parts of South America. And why that's important? Well, we've seen a resurgence of the rainfall in Mato Grosso as the safrinha crop has gone in. We need to be watching the MJO plus the El Nino signal as we get into mid-March as potentially drying this area out. But that safrinha crop is in and it's moving fast because of how quickly they got out the first crop. Down in Argentina, remember, they've been dry. We've been talking about this for quite a bit now. And this has maybe had a problem with some of the early corn that's gone in. Remember, they had some heat. We talked about it a couple of videos ago. And this is the dryness and the heat came in during pollination. So there's some concern about the quality of the crop, but we're only talking here about the early planted corn. Remember, there was a lot of early season flooding, which delayed a lot of the planting of corn. So I guess my story here is that South America has been on a bit of a wild ride compared to the last couple of years. And that is that's something to take into account, which means we're going to have to watch very carefully over the month of March who gets the rain and who doesn't. But we'll keep you updated every week so that you can stay on top of it and see how the markets might react. With that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next ag forecasts that are coming out. Again, head to my.nutrienagsolutions.com to see all of our video content and a whole lot of new mapping stuff that'll be coming out on that website in the next couple of months. I'm excited to do it. In the meantime, have a great week. Watch out for the snow. Watch out for the severe weather. It is coming. Thank you.